All right, good evening. This is the June 4th, 2025 Cottage Grove City Council meeting, which I'm calling to order. First thing I just want to read real quick is that this meeting is being recorded by True Lens Community Media. You can view city meetings live and replay them on cable channel 799. And the meetings are also streamed live and archived on the City of Cottage Grove's YouTube channel. So our next item after call to order of the meeting here is Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, will the clerk please do the roll?
Councilmember Clausen.
Here.
Councilmember Olson.
Here.
Councilmember Thiede.
Here.
Councilmember Garza.
Here and out of breath.
Mayor Bailey.
Here. All right, next on our agenda is open forum. This is the opportunity for anybody that wants to speak on open forum this evening. We did have a sign-up sheet out in the entryway, and we didn't have anybody sign up. Is there anybody that wants to speak but forgot to sign up? All right, I will go ahead and close open forum. We'll move to number 5, which is adoption of the agenda.
Move the agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Olson, second by Councilmember Thiede. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is 6 presentations. We do have 2 this evening. The first one is a very exciting one for us right off the bat. The Craig Woolery Scholarship presentation by the Public Safety Board. And I will just mention that we have Sophia Nolte, who is going to be receiving that award this evening, if you will. And so council, do you want me to come down after you speak, or do you want us to do it now?
I'll just give a quick presentation, then I'll let you come down if that works.
All right, so Brad, if you want to start us through this, thank you.
All right, good evening, Mayor, council members, guests. My name is Brad Peterson. I'm the Deputy Director of Public Safety. Tonight I have the honor of having the Public Safety Board, retired Director of Public Safety, Craig Woolery, in the house, and we have Sophia here. And we can formally award her with a scholarship. So following Craig Woolery's retirement, Councilmember Olson and his wife generously donated to the Public Safety Board a few years ago and created a scholarship program for young adults who are pursuing a career in law enforcement, EMS, or fire safety to promote public service and advocate and promote for that pipeline of promoting that career path here in Cottage Grove. So as you know, we're very proud of the fact that very many of our public safety members are homegrown, raised here, and continue to serve here. We're very proud of that fact. And so that scholarship continues to feed that pipeline and continues to promote that important work of public safety service. And so in just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Julie to say a word. So I'd like to invite the Public Safety Board to come join me at the podium. And I'd also like Craig Woolery to come up and just say a little bit about his service and career and what the scholarship means to him and our community. Craig?
Thank you, Captain. A lot of memories here. I had 34 years with the city and happily retired. Cottage Grove's been very good to me, my family. It's been a wonderful place just to raise a family, and you all know that, so I'm not going to say any more about that. But the challenge of finding good people for public service, in whatever branch they choose, is really, really challenging. And when you get an opportunity to help a local person, I had a chance to meet Sophia right before the meeting. She's very excited. The parents are very excited to have her, send her off to UMD, and I'd hopefully that maybe you guys have an opening here for her when she finishes. But the Olsons, Justin and Kim, Councilmember Olson, it's an awesome program to be able to provide local funding for local kids to improve and serve their community in different ways has been amazing. So thank you. And with that, I'll step away.
Ditto. No. Everything's been said about how this program started, and we're honored as the Public Safety Board to have Justin entrust us to, put out the scholarship, find the recipients that qualify for this scholarship. And so this year, Sophia Nolte is going into an area that wasn't on our radar, conservation, so she's planning on being a DNR officer. So it's a well-needed area. She's excited. She's already taking classes at Century College, so she's already got a start. Plus, she told me that at her cabin, her neighbor is a DNR officer, and she did some ride-alongs with him. So she already has a view of what's going to happen into her career. So we're very excited to present Sophia tonight. Although we did a presentation at the high school for senior night, and she was awarded her check and her letter at the or the awards presentation, but she did not know she was receiving it. So it was a total surprise for her to see her name up there and get this taken care of. So we're very excited to present Sophia Nolte, future DNR Conservation Officer.
So council, why don't you join me down in front, and why don't we get the board up here, and Sophie, and Craig, and Brad. No, I'm okay. I don't have anything. Yep. All right, can you get it in? Can we pull everybody in?
Yeah, double up.
let's
Double up
know what
under
to do.
the fun.
You ready?
Yep.
Lovely. Great. Do we want to get mom and dad and brother?
Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, you ready? Yeah. We'll make room.
Yes.
Sit right in.
Right in here.
Yeah.
He's a little bit taller. There you go. All right. So real quick, before everybody jumps away, yeah, I just wanted to say, first of all, congratulations on graduating, obviously this year, correct? And UND, University of North?
Is she going to Century or UMD?
UMD. Yep.
already had classes.
Yeah, she's doing it now and then going up there. So it is, as you were saying a little bit earlier, it's a little different, different than maybe a police officer or a firefighter, but actually, I think you have a little bit more power, if what I've heard from people at conservation. So very excited to see that. Glad that you're going to represent us here from Cottage Grove. And maybe what I'll do real quick, because I know he kind of kicked this whole process off, I will hand the mic over to Councilmember Olson to maybe say a few words.
No, I'm good. Thanks very much. So first of all, congratulations. I got to tell you, if you haven't already heard it from former Director Woolery, huge outdoorsman. Hunting, fishing, you name it, skiing, he does it all. So I'm thinking he might be a little jealous of this whole conservation officer path that you might be taking, but it's really neat to have somebody who's on that track actually be a scholarship award recipient, and I have no doubt you'll do very well. And it's exciting also for me to see somebody local who, you know, has that passion, has already started taking classes through Century, I'm sure through your 916 and what have you, and now you're going to translate that up to UMD. Our purpose in forming this scholarship is, as I told you outside, we want to see young people in this community who have that passion, that drive, that interest in some career path in the public safety realm, and this is a wonderful path. You know, have the ability to pursue that with a little help. And I have to say, it's not just Kim and I, it's, you know, our Cottage Grove Lions Club donated $2,000 this year and last year. We have several other, you know, notable members of the public, including Commissioner Bigham and her husband, John, always make a donation. So there's been a lot of people who get behind this. A lot of it is because we all love Craig and Katie and his family, and we want to honor his legacy, but we also love this community. And he and his family gave so much to us as a city. This is our opportunity to give a little something back. So make us proud, okay? All right, thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you, parents, for sharing with us. And all right, we'll let you get back at it then. Thanks. I'll shake this hand. You got her. Congratulations.
A few years away, but that might be just in time for the photo. Maybe. And just stay local.
All right.
Wishful thinking.
So next on our agenda under presentations is the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. And I believe Brenda Melanowski, our finance director, will start us, and then she's going to kick off Rebecca Peterson from Redpath. Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, yes, we have Rebecca Peterson here with Redpath and Company. That is our city audit firm here at the city of Cottage Grove. And she is here to present the annual comprehensive financial report to you. And so I just wanted to remind City Council that this is the second year that we have Redpath and Company with Rebecca in charge of that audit. It has gone very well again for the second year, just like the first year. So our thanks to her and her team for being such a smooth process. What you have in front of you and what is on our city website is our annual comprehensive financial report, which is letting not only you, but anybody in the city that wants information about our financial results and reports, they can go to our city website and get that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca for the presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here tonight. As I go through the audit, you may recall me saying last year, we work really closely with city staff during the audit, but we really do work for you as governance. So if you want me to stop and clarify anything, or if you have any questions as I'm speaking, please stop me and we'll go over things. Before we get started into 2024 financial information, I just want to call out that the city's annual comprehensive financial report from 2023 was submitted to the Government Finance Officers Association and received an award for excellence in financial reporting. I believe it's the 34th year that the city has received this award. The 2024 statements will be submitted as well, and we anticipate you'll receive the award again. For 2024 audit results, we'll talk through a summary of the reports that we issue in conjunction with the audit, and then some high-level financial information. The first report that we issue in conjunction with the audit is an opinion on the financial statements. And this is really the primary purpose of our audit, is to look at the city's financial information, the financial statements, do some analytical analysis, some tests of details to enable us to provide an opinion as to the fair presentation of the financial statements. We're not saying that everything is exactly right to the dollar. It just simply would be too cost and time prohibitive for us to look at absolutely every financial transaction that the city enters into. But our procedures enable us to offer an opinion as to the fair presentation of the financial statements. And this year we've issued a clean, unmodified opinion on the statements. It's the highest level of assurance we're able to provide on the statements. And in summary, it's really the result you would want. The next report that we issue in conjunction with the audit is a report on internal control. As part of our audit, we don't audit the city's internal control, but we gain an understanding of the processes and the procedures that the city has in place in order for us to plan our audit. In doing so, we do a rotation looking at different areas. So every year, we look at a different area of the city, and then some things we look at every year. This year, our rotating procedures included a walkthrough or a secret shop, so to speak, at the golf course, looking at their cash receipting processes there, amongst other procedures. But I'm happy to report that there were no internal control findings this year. And that means not only did we not identify an efficiency in the controls that we tested during our audit, but there were no material audit adjustments. Auditing standards require that if we as auditors propose an adjustment to the city's financial information that rises above a certain materiality threshold, we're obligated to report that as an internal control finding. So it's really a nod to staff that there were no audit adjustment findings this year. The next report that we issue in conjunction with the audit is a report on Minnesota legal compliance. The Office of the State Auditor has a series of requirements that they like us to look at in conjunction with our audit, and I always like to qualify that we are accountants, not attorneys, so we're looking at these legal compliance requirements from an accounting perspective. We're looking at things like, where are the city's funds held? If you have cash deposits, are they properly insured or collateralized? Those types of things. Happy to report that no findings of noncompliance were included in our report this year. And again, that's the result you would hope for. The final report that we issue in conjunction with the audit is a communication with those charged with governance. And it's really a letter from us as the auditors to you as governance that is full of a lot of templated and standard language. And so here on the slide, I've called out really the portions of that letter that are unique to Cottage Grove and kind of the summary of the bullet points that would be important for you to know. The first required piece of communication in this letter is anytime there's new accounting standards implemented in the city's financial statements, we're required to communicate that to you. This year, there was a new accounting standard implemented, GASB 101 on compensated absences. And this is really looking at the cost that the city has or the liability that's incurred by having compensated time off available to your employees. That type of leave has always been accrued in your financial statements, but this standard standardizes it across financial reporting for all governments, so everybody's reporting the same type of thing as a liability. And so under this standard, anytime there's changes in leave policies where, say, like a higher accrual level would be allowed to employees, it's going to increase the liability to the city on your books. The next component of required communications is on accounting estimates. And it's just a reminder that if you look at your financial statements, not everything in there is a firm hard dollar, but there are some estimates included there. The first item that I have bulleted is the net pension liability. This is an actuarially determined estimate, and it's based on the fact that city employees participate in the state retirement plan, PARA. PARA hires an actuary to calculate the net pension liability for their plan as a whole, and then they divvy that liability out to all participating employers. So based on the actuary's calculation, the city of Cottage Grove at the end of 2024 had a $10.8 million pension liability. And this is something that's paid off on through your payroll cycle, through your regular contributions. PARA's not going to come knocking at your door and ask for a $10.8 million check next week. And this fluctuates wildly depending on market conditions, employment levels, and whatnot. The next estimate that's included in the city's financial statements is an allowance for your EMS or your ambulance receivable. As I'm sure you know, when an ambulance run goes out and a bill gets created, 100% of that bill is not always collected. You're restricted by Medicare and Medicaid rates and other factors. So city staff need to look at the outstanding bills and estimate the portion of those that they truly believe to be collectible and what they think will need to be written down. And so that allowance for uncollectible fees there is an estimate in your financial statements. And finally, the third estimate I have reflected here relates to lease receivables and lease liabilities. Anytime the city has a contract that qualifies as a lease or similar item that has payments that continue out over time, you're required to present value that and report it in your financial statements. So an example of that would be your water tower antenna leases. You lease space on those water towers to cell phone companies and they've got future committed payments. You have a receivable on your financial statements for the value of those. Remaining bullets that I have on here are all good news. No difficulties encountered in performing the audit. If we had encountered significant difficulties, we'd be communicating that to you. No disagreements with management. Again, if we did have a difference of an opinion, we would make sure that you were aware of that. And finally, any other matters. If anything came to our attention that we thought you should know about that didn't qualify for reporting in any of the other buckets of our reports, we would include it in this letter. This year, there's nothing included there, but just know that that is the spot that those types of communications would occur. Moving on, I just have some high-level financial information. The first bit here is just recognizing the city's property tax collection rate. 99.42% for 2024 is a great collection rate. I audit a lot of cities around the metro area, and this is one of the higher ones I've seen this year, so good news for the city. The second bullet I have here is looking at the city's fund balance. As you may recall, it's important for the city to hold some reserves because one of your primary sources of funding is property taxes, and you receive those payments twice a year. So the funds that you have on hand at the end of one year need to get you till halfway through the next year before that first property tax payment comes in. And then again, you need to have enough on hand to get to the end of that year. So the city has developed a policy that says you want to have 45% to 55% of the next year's budgeted expenditures held in reserve at the end of the year. For 2024, your general fund unassigned fund balance, so that reserve, was equal to 48.2 of 2025's budgeted expenditures, so right within that range. And I know this time of year, we're looking ahead to the 2026 budget, so just a reminder that, you can see on here that 48.2% is equal to about 13.7 million. If you held that fund balance number at 13.7 million year over year, pretty soon you're not going to be at 48% anymore, especially in times of rising costs. That fund balance amount does need to rise along with your budget. You can see here I've got a budget to actual slide for the general fund. The first column is your originally approved budget. That's the budget you would have approved at the end of 2023. Your final budget includes budget amendments that were done over the course of the year, then your actual column, and then finally your variance. I will point out, the intergovernmental revenue row, you'll see that it was under budget by about $417,000. That simply relates to the timing of some police aid that the city received. I believe it was budgeted in 2024, but actually received in 2023. Looking down at expenditures, you'll see expenditures under budget by almost $900,000. And in talking to city staff about what happened here, there's various factors, but ultimately the message I heard was just really great fiscal responsibility across all departments, that everybody was doing a nice job adhering to their budget and being respectful of spending. So at the end of the day, the city had a positive increase in fund balance of about $151,000. And then here I just have a slide showing general fund expenditures by function, so you can see where those expenses are going. That green bar in the middle is public safety. Public safety is very important, but also expensive. It's a big portion of the city's budget. The next up, I have a slide that shows you your general fund revenues, expenditures, and fund balance. So that green line you see is total revenues. The blue bar is total expenditures, and the gray bar is fund balance. So you can kind of see how your fund balance compares to the expenditures it needs to cover and how your revenue is covering your expenditures there. Next, we're going to get into some of the city's business type funds or proprietary funds. And these funds are intended to be self-supporting over time. It doesn't mean that they can never show a loss, but just generally over time, they're intended to support themselves. Again, the green line here is your operating revenue, and that blue bar is your operating expenses. So that's your payroll, supplies, materials, those types of things. That gray portion of that bar is depreciation expense. And the reason we're showing that on here is because, especially in some of these business type operations, future capital costs are expensive. And so you want your operating revenue to cover your operating expenses but also have a gap so that you can be saving for future capital needs. And so here in the streetlight fund, you can see your operating revenue is covering your operating expenses, but not quite your depreciation. And so what that means is your operating revenue isn't covering the historical cost of capital, and you know the future cost of capital is going to be more expensive than the old stuff was generally. So as you head into the 2026 budget cycle, and I believe there's a rate study coming that's going to look at this, just be aware of the need to be covering your costs in this area. And here you can see your streetlight fund unrestricted net position. This is the component of fund balance that you have available in that fund. Next, I have the EMS or the ambulance fund. Here, that green line, you can see it's not quite even covering operating expenses for 2024. It's dipped down into the blue a little bit. That's okay, 1 year, occasionally. As an ongoing trend, it really puts the sustainability of the fund at risk. But I will say that this is not unique to Cottage Grove. Ambulance and EMS funds are notoriously struggling as costs increase and Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement rates are not keeping pace with those costs. So really important to watch this, but just know it's not an isolated incident to Cottage Grove. And here you can see the impact of some of those rising costs without the rising revenue. This is a fund balance of the fund over time. And the unrestricted net position for the fund balance this year is just slightly in the negative. Next, I have the water fund. You'll see that your revenue is covering your operating expenses. It's covering that blue bar. The depreciation, it's not even coming close to covering, but there's a reason for that. You have a temporary water treatment plant that is being depreciated over a very short time frame, and so that's why you're seeing this depreciation so large. Again, it's going to be looked at during the utility rate study. You need to be aware of it, but just want to caution you that the gap here is not as concerning as it might look to be. Then again, your unrestricted net position, you can see that's rising a little bit year over year. Next, we have the sewer fund. Here, your operating revenue is covering your operating expenses, but is not covering your depreciation. So same comment as other slides, it would be looked at in the utility rate study, but important to be aware of. And your unrestricted net position, this blue portion of the bar shows your unrestricted resources available for spending. If you had an unexpected cost in that fund, that's what's available for spending. That gray portion is an interfund loan. So there is a loan that sewer has loaned out to other funds, and I believe it'll be 2032 before that's repaid, but it's being repaid annually. Next up, I just have some comparative information. So if you look at the right 3 columns, this is Cottage Grove's information for 2022, 23, and 24. And then the left 2 columns are some comparative information. And so what this is looking at is its revenue sources per capita. And as we know, every city funds their operations a little bit differently. Some use property taxes, others use fees, different balances. You can see that for 2024, Cottage Grove's property tax cost per capita, based on the way it calculates out here, was about $523. And that is less than the statewide amounts or the amounts for nearby cities of $565 and $713, respectively. If you look down at the total revenue per capita, you're going to see the Cottage Grove's at about $1,800, while nearby cities are at $1,200. That's a direct result of the water treatment projects that are ongoing. You have a lot of intergovernmental revenue coming into the city to fund some of those costs, and so that's skewing that total number up a little bit. Next, I have the same comparison, looking at an expenditure perspective. 2024, if you look at expenditures, just current expenditures in total for the city, you got 788 compared to nearby cities of 845. If you look function by function, you might see some little differences here and there. Every city offers slightly different amenities. I know Cottage Grove, you've got your great ice arena and other park programming. So it's going to make your culture and recreation expenses look a little bit higher than cities that don't offer some of those offerings. And again, if you look down at capital outlay and construction, you're going to see that your capital outlay number is much higher than nearby cities. Again, you've got that water treatment project going on. So that's what I have pre-prepared for you. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Fantastic, thank you. And I'll first go to my council to see if there's questions. Councilmember Olson.
Thank you. Believe it or not, I love this presentation every year. And the reason I do is because it tends to reinforce the things that we hear from our staff throughout the course of the year, but specifically during our budget discussions, which, by the way, never seem to stop. But when we get into the heart of the budget conversation, we get some messaging that remains consistent, you know, through that process. And then when we have a presentation like this, it's nice to see that that has all kind of come to fruition, all the predictions and things. I wanted to ask specifically about the EMS fund. I know you do this for several other cities, and you mentioned that this has been a challenge in numerous areas of the state. And of course, you know, the state legislature's been talking about trying to do some things, and I don't know if they're going to get anything done, but they're trying. But I guess what I'm going to ask you is, in your professional opinion, when you look at this sort of data, how alarmed do you get? Is it you know, like, oh my goodness, we're in a world of pain, or hey, we need to make some adjustments here?
I would say when I look at, you know, this slide in particular, looking at where the fund finished the year, I think you need to be very acutely aware of what's happening in the fund and make sure that you have a plan for the future. But like I said, this is not unique to the city of Cottage Grove.
Right.
It's something that every city is going through. And operationally, you know, you're close to right on for your operating expenses.
Yeah.
It's the future costs of ambulances that you need to plan for, those types of things that you need a plan to cover your capital.
Sure.
So you need to plan for it, you need to be aware of it. Am I worried that the ambulance department system is going to fall apart in a year or two? No, not really, as long as you're doing your appropriate planning.
And I ask because, you know, I started doing this in 2008, and the EMS fund has undergone a multitude of changes in that time frame, and a lot of it does have to do with Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements, et cetera. I know that this is a challenge, and for Cottage Grove, maybe a unique challenge because we have a service area. We don't just cover our city. So we also have Newport and St. Paul Park and Gray Cloud, et cetera. And we sort of pick up the tab for all of that. And when you go do a run to those cities, part of the challenge is, you know, if you're not getting private insurance, you're going to take whatever you get from Medicare and Medicaid. You can charge whatever you want. You're just not going to get it back. So I wanted to get your sense of, you know, how you felt about this so that we can start making better decisions about how we want to manage this, because there's a risk here. In the next slide, you showed the dollar amount that is, you know, operating expense without depreciation, and what that net was, and it's negative. It's net negative, and net negative is never good. So I think this is a wake-up call for us. It really is. And luckily, our staff has been working with some of those surrounding communities to try to get some additional cost participation, or any cost participation on that, so that we can maintain the fund and maintain the service. But that insight was very good. The other thing I wanted to mention too is the amazing amount of dollars saved in expenditures. I think you mentioned it was roughly $879,000 saved versus the budget in expenditures. Such a credit to our staff, and we compliment the staff regularly. We are the second lowest taxed community in Washington County per capita, and we don't get local government aid where, you know, the person or the place below us does. And that really requires our staff to sharpen their pencils pretty regularly. And I think this speaks for itself. It's pretty awesome. I mean, is this a trend you're seeing, or is this kind of a unique circumstance?
I don't want to be careful when I say this.
Understood.
I could be missing one. I don't recall an audit I've done yet this year that has shown every department under budget for their expenditures.
Good, good. Well, again, thank you for being here this evening and sharing this information with us. As a council member, it makes my heart swell with pride in the staff that we have here in the city. They do such tremendous work, and as I like to say, the numbers don't lie. They speak for themselves. So very grateful for such a nice, clean audit.
Sounds good. Any other council? Yeah, Councilmember Garza.
First, I want to say thank you so much for presenting and giving it to us in a way that is understandable, and we're able to digest it and really really be proud of what our city has done and what our staff has done. So thank you so much for that. I had another question to piggyback on Councilmember Olson's comment regarding EMS. So in your opinion, because you are doing other cities as well, with our city, not just servicing our immediate city, we do the surrounding area. Are there other cities that are in the same type of unique situation that they are servicing the surrounding areas? And if so, how are they looking to deal with that if they're running into the same type of situation that we're going to eventually be more short than what we already are?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of plans because no two situations are unique, right? And so I know one city that I'm familiar with, they group their fire service with their ambulance service. And then their external cities that their service area, they might get charged a fire fee that then goes into this fund to help with that. There are different extra fees, transport options you can do, but there's no great one-size-fits-all because every department is set up so uniquely. You know, it might work for a different department to pick up extra transfers, but it might not work for this department if it's not staffed with 2 ambulances at all times. So there's a whole host of different things that folks are trying. Nothing has proven to be the magic pill quite yet. So I think everybody is just trying to look at their unique situation and see what they can do in their specific set of circumstances.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other council? Just a couple, I'll piggyback a little bit on the EMS situation because as it was kind of alluded, and thank you, by the way, for the audit. Thank you, Brendan, and all of our staff for doing such a great job of managing the budgets. Every department to be under budget is pretty amazing. I'll just say that right off the bat. It does go to this testament, I'll say as mayor, that, you know, we're always very, very careful with the taxpayer dollars in this community, and that slide definitely shows it. From the general comment on the EMS, though, one of the things, as it was alluded to, is we are obviously having conversations with our surrounding communities. And for those that may not be aware, that are watching this or listening, one of the things is we have a service area, so we are required, if you will, to cover our surrounding communities because everybody has to have some type of coverage. What we have already done is our administrator and myself have already had some discussions with actually all of them now, I guess, all of the surrounding communities regarding some type of a cost share piece to this puzzle. Because the other option that would be available to us, which is what we've shared, it isn't necessarily what they want, I don't think, as those other communities, nor I think what we necessarily want. But we also, my opinion, as the mayor of Cottage Grove, the taxpayers of Cottage Grove shouldn't be having to pay for all the ambulance services for these other communities at this particular point, with nothing getting brought back into return. So one of the options that we're looking at, and that's why we're having those conversations with the other communities, is to help bridge that gap. So you saw that one slide had a little bit of a deficit on there, right? Our goal is not to have deficits. That's not, like you said, Councilmember Olson, the bad thing is having any deficit in any budget. But the other option would be then to cut those cities out to a different service and doing a contract. And if we did that, what that would mean to those communities, just so I can say it, is significantly reduced service, so much so that those particular cities, if you called for an ambulance, whereas maybe in Cottage Grove, if it's coming from Cottage Grove, it would be there, 8-10 minutes, whatever that run time is. You're talking at least half hour. And so we don't want that. I don't think the other communities want that, but at the same time, I also believe, and I think I can speak for the council, that the citizens of Cottage Grove shouldn't be fronting the entire bill for all the communities. Everybody needs to help, at least in some way, shape, or form. So I did want to just let the public know that is something that we are looking at from a city's perspective. So when we dig into those particular budgets as we're going into this year, to see exactly what that is. But again, I just wanted to throw in there about the EMS service, and then again, just amazing to see where we're at per tax for our citizens on average comparatively to our surrounding communities or even the state is unbelievable. So thank you, Brenda, thank you, staff, for doing such a great job, and thank you, council, for making sure that we keep the taxes as low as possible and supporting our citizens. So thank you. Any other comments? All right, thank you for presenting. I do know we do need to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the annual comprehensive financial report for the year
second.
ended December 31st, 2024.
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Olson, second by Councilmember Garza. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Yep.
Thanks for coming in.
Excellent.
All right, next on our agenda is consent. Is there anything council wants to pull for separate discussion on consent? If seeing none, I'll look for a motion and a second to approve consent.
Move consent. Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Thiede, second by Councilmember Clausen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So if you happen to be here for anything on tonight's consent agenda, they've all been approved. 8 is approved disbursement. 8A is to pay the bills.
Move the bills.
Have a motion by Councilmember Olson,
Second.
second by Councilmember Garza. Any other discussion on the bills? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9 is public hearings are none this evening. 10 is bid awards are none this evening. 11 is the regular agenda. We do have one. These nice 3 back here waiting for us here.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, the Independent School District 833 Transition Building, 7,000 Jamaica Avenue South. And Emily Schmitz, our Community Development Director, is going to walk us through this one. So,
Yes.
welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I think it's perhaps no surprise, today was the last day of school for kids out there.
Yeah, it is.
Right? So the next item on your agenda for consideration is a school district project to move, we were calling it the transition project, but it's to move their Next Step program, which is at 2 different locations currently, to what was previously the home of Light the Way Church at 70th Street and Jamaica. To utilize that site for that program. So as a part of that, they need some additional space on the site. So they are proposing about an 8,000 square foot addition to the building to support a cafeteria, some additional office spaces, and then some other specific spaces in there for the programs that they do offer to folks, I believe 18 to 21 years of age, for additional life skills, some career training, and then some independent living skills as well. This site is zoned R3, which is residential. We do allow for educational facilities as a conditional use permit in our R3 zoning districts. So as I indicated, they are proposing a building addition just on the east side of the building, as you can see it on the site plan before you. And again, that will support a large portion of their programming that they provide as a part of their Next Step program. Some additional exterior improvements include some landscaping improvements, recreational spaces, including a garden, a basketball court, and some other outdoor play areas as a part of that. The applicant is not proposing to expand the parking lot. They're going to use the parking lot as it is today, however, do some restriping there. The proposed use of the building requires about 20 parking stalls. They are proposing 70, so sufficient to support, obviously, the folks who are going to be utilizing the site, teachers, et cetera. And then, as you can see, some additional parking spaces for the buses that will also be utilizing the site. So a unique request to this particular site is a variance to the impervious surface. So when we think about a variance, right, it's a practical difficulty, something that just, is out of our control. So when we look at uses, specifically educational uses or places of worship. Both of those uses are permitted within residential districts. However, a lot of times those uses do require some additional infrastructure, right? You want to make sure that there's parking, but also continuing to be that good neighbor in those residential districts. So the applicant is proposing to be at about 49% impervious when 40% is the maximum. So just above that threshold with their addition and additional basketball courts. So that's what's pushing them over the edge, but it's important to recognize they are meeting their stormwater standards on the site and still a very good balance of open space to impervious on the site. The applicant is proposing 65% Class 1 materials. The existing building does incorporate some brick already, but they are going to give it, I'm going to call it a facelift, right? Little lipstick, little mascara maybe, and then that addition will also include those 65% Class 1 materials. The applicant is proposing to meet the minimum landscape requirements on the site. As you recall, we do have a coefficient. We use a calculation for the area of disturbance to make sure that those areas are being landscaped with shrub, trees, etc. One final unique aspect to this site is there are actually some trees, as you can see on the screen outlined in red, that were planted at one time over some water main. And we really care about our city infrastructure, right? And we want to make sure that we can protect that in any way that we can. So today, we would never permit, a tree to be planted over our infrastructure. So in this unique situation, we're asking that they actually remove those trees so that we can protect that water main. But it's important to note that there are other mature trees on the site, and they're also filling in the gaps with their required landscaping. So the site will still continue to look full, green, and luscious. And finally, it's important to mention, this is adjacent to a county road, 70th Street, most of you are familiar with. As with all projects, we look to say, okay, in the future, is additional right-of-way needed? And this is no exception. However, because the project is not adjusting the site from a platting perspective, right? They're not proposing to adjust the property lines. They're working through with the county on what we would call a right-of-way easement, as opposed to platting that right-of-way. Again, preparing for the future to be sure that if 70th is ever expanded, they have enough right-of-way to support that. So with that said, I will leave the recommendation before you, here for any questions, and I know the applicant is in the audience as well.
Great, thank you. Emily, council, any questions? Councilmember Rolson?
Thanks, Emily. So first of all, I'm super excited that the school district's finding a way to bring the two separate Next Step facilities together. My son spent several years in Next Step, and I can tell you that it was challenging for space purposes because some of the programming was in Cottage Grove, some of it was in Woodbury. They had to bus kids back and forth depending on their activities and the day. And you're dealing with a population of students who have a variety of needs. And whenever there's any sort of disruption to the schedule, it can be challenging. So this is great. A couple of questions. Because we're dealing with that population, and you can phone a friend if you want on this. This site provides an opportunity for outside activities that did not exist in the past in those other facilities. And my personal concern is supervision because, yes, you're dealing with young adults who are in that 18, 19, 20-year-old range in terms of their genealogical age. But sometimes that developmental delay has them at a much younger age. And there's proclivities for things like running and not really paying attention to where you're going and those kinds of things. So what do we know about supervision or any kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, but containment to ensure that we keep people safe, especially next to a county road like 70th Street that's busy? Anybody want to field that for me? She's been voluntold? Okay, that happens to me a lot too, I understand. Thank you.
So I'm Nikki Locke. I'm the administrator of the Next Step
I'm
program.
well aware,
Yes.
yes.
For those who aren't, I'm the administrator of the Next Step program in South Washington County Schools, and I appreciate that question. Every day, our student safety and security, wherever we are, is first and foremost of things that we're thinking about. So we know our students well. So our facility in itself, within the doors, we feel is very safe.
I think so too.
The spaces that our students would utilize outside, we do have perimeter fencing for those spaces, the sport court, and then when they would be by the learning patios. In the space a little bit more, the gardens, we would have some, like that parking space between where cars would potentially be moving. We have a high staff-to-student ratio.
Yep, you sure do.
So, like, when you look at the number of parking spaces, like we're considering, some of our students have one-to-one staffing. And we think about how they move in their day and the places that they're accessing based on their environmental awareness, that predictability, and how confident we can feel that they are going to be able to successfully move in their learning space. Their IEP teams, those teams that come around their learning, every year in that transition from high school to a transition program, consider the facility, consider what that building is like and the supports that are there, and always consider if the program we offer here in the community is the best for them, or possibly our partner with 916 Intermediate School District.
Right.
So our students' learning experience is very much built into our design for this plan. And then we still continue to make that student-by-student decision about what their day looks like and also what their learning environment, where their actual location is that they learn.
Such a great answer, and you must be so excited.
We are so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I looked at this and I read through the plan and I thought, gosh, I wish Corbin could have had that. But you know what? He still had a great experience, but this is going to elevate your whole program. It really is. So
We agree.
thank you for that. My next question is about stormwater, so you may not want to take that one. So you mentioned impervious surface, obviously stormwater capture, that kind of stuff. So what, if any, provisions are going to need to be made on the site for stormwater capture, being that, for stormwater capture, being that impervious surface is going to go up, exponentially?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, so with the engineering team,
Thanks,
we
Nikki.
work with our stormwater review staff who do take a look at each project. So we would have given them a letter early on to let them know what they had to do. And there's kind of two parts. So there was already a lot of existing impervious, and they are not required to do additional treatment of that. So it's just that amount that's going up. And as Emily mentioned, they're accommodating the necessary treatment on site to make sure they're not increasing their rate and doing all the water quality things that they have to do as well. So it's
Okay.
specific to the added impervious.
So we have no concerns whatsoever, because again, that's on that path towards the river, just to make sure we're good. Okay, perfect. Well, again, exciting project. Looking forward to seeing it be completed, and thank you guys for entertaining my questions.
Sounds good, thank you. Council, any other questions at this point? I have just maybe one, I'm not sure which one back there wants to answer it. So you're obviously taking the two projects or the two remote places and putting them into this one spot. One's in Woodbury, one's here in Cottage Grove. What's your timing? What's your plan? Because obviously this gets approved tonight, obviously you construct the building. Are we talking a year from now, 2 years from now? Whoever wants to take it. I'll take it. Self-nominated.
Evening, Mayor, and council members. The bids are actually coming in tomorrow for this
good.
project.
Awesome.
So our intent is to hopefully get this approved. KA is our construction manager. They'll vet the bids. And hopefully we'll be able to get it on our board agenda for the end of June and get things rolling. We'd love to have shovels in the ground by September.
Okay.
This is gonna open up next fall. That's our goal. So,
A year from now.
yes.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I thought. Okay.
Yep, fall of '26.
Yep.
Yep. So
Perfect.
it'll, and again, this is one of those projects that's so much fun to be a part of because we're looking at getting kids out of a strip mall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and getting them into a place that's gonna it's gonna be great for them, so.
Yeah, good for you guys.
Awesome, thank you. That was my question. I just was,
That was easy.
we have some interest in redevelopment, as you know already. So, yes, thank you.
Of your current.
Now, of the current, yeah, where you're at in Cottage Grove, so,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, seeing no other questions from council, I see a resolution on the screen, if somebody would like to take it.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-081, approving the variance for the maximum impervious surface standard in the R-3 zoning district based on the findings, and the site plan review and conditional use for an 8,374 square foot addition and site improvements for an educational facility located at 7,000 Jamaica Avenue South.
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Garza. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Clausen. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There you go. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now on our agenda, next is council comments request. I'll start my normal. Nothing for you, or you have something?
Yeah, I just
Mr.
want
Clausen?
to mention, a couple weeks ago, our public safety team, along with some high school students, teamed up and raised some money for basic needs in the South Washington County CARES unit. They raised almost $9,000, so my thanks to the police and firemen and high school students for putting that together. The fire department did win. However, they didn't have any video review or challenges, so I'm not sure, but next year the
I have it on
police will
video.
win.
They actually won, is that?
I have it
what
on
you're saying?
video.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Olson?
Thank you. A couple things here first. I wanted to follow up on something that we talked about at our last meeting. Those who were watching at home or in the audience may recall, we had Cottage Grove resident Gary Spooner here, and we honored him with the Historic Preservationist of the Year award. And in that same meeting, we had several residents who live at the Dominium Legends facility here in town come to talk to us about some of their concerns related to what they're paying in rents and those sorts of things. And they actually had a legislative update meeting at the Legends this past Saturday, which Gary coordinated, and that was for Senator Seeberger, our two state representatives, and then Commissioner Bigham from Washington County, and I were able to attend as well. It was a very nice meeting, cordial, good conversations, lots of good questions from the residents. And, you know, one of the key takeaways here is there is legislation that is working its way through the state Senate and the State House of Representatives that will provide some additional guidance to the property owners of that sort of facility as it relates to various rents that they charge and you know, the return on investment for the resident, et cetera. The Senate actually did pass the bill already this year, but it has not yet passed the House. And Senator Seeberger was really good about explaining the various provisions of the bill, et cetera. This is one of those things that actually came up several years ago, and the mayor got involved. And at that time, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but the mayor was, I believe, president of the Metro Cities Consortium, which is a lobbying group here that works with metro communities and at the state legislature. We also have the League of Minnesota Cities. I am now a board member of Metro Cities. The mayor timed out, and this was put on their legislative agenda as a lobbying conversation at the Capitol 3 years ago. And so it's been working its way. Sometimes, you know, government works a little slower than we'd like. But the good news is there's some positive outcomes in the offing here, hopefully this year, if that bill can pass the House and ultimately be signed by the governor. But I wanted to give you guys an update that it is something that we're working on. Cities have very little control over these sorts of things, as you heard in some of the commentary from various members of the audience. But we do have the power of influence. And influence over our state legislative contingent is certainly being brought to bear. Second thing is I wanted to mention that we had a really nice Memorial Day session this year, a Memorial Day event out here near the Veterans Memorial on the patio here at City Hall. The weather was perfect. We had nice attendance for the event. It was 10 a.m. on Memorial Day. And we had two very powerful speakers who I thought did just a magnificent job in talking about the experience of our Asian American and Pacific Islander veterans and their status within the veterans community. I wanted to pay special thanks to the Washington County Honor Guard for being here that evening, or that morning rather, to present the colors along with our own Cottage Grove Police Department representatives, Sergeant Pat Nickel, Sergeant Mike McCormick, and then Officer Tyler Smith, and then I wanted to also, or Tyler Harris rather, and then I also wanted to thank our Mississippi River Valley Beyond the Yellow Ribbon team for getting here nice and early at 8 o'clock and getting all the flags and chairs and everything set up. This is one of those things that it takes a whole bunch of people to put together, and we couldn't do it without the support of our city staff, including those folks at River Oaks who bring up the chairs and take them back, et cetera. But it was a great day, and a lot of credit to the people who were there to make that happen. And then the last thing, Mayor, that I wanted to mention, and I certainly don't want to take anything away from Councilmember Thedy's soon-to-be very ebullient commentary about Strawberry Fest. But we have a really special guest coming to Strawberry Fest this year. Were you planning to talk about that? Eric being here?
Oh, I probably was not.
Okay, so we have a really special guest coming to Strawberry Fest this year. For those of you who were at our food truck festival last year, Eric Dowdle, who did the big community puzzle that many of you have seen, the big painting and then the puzzle. You know, last year we were hoping to have him for Strawberry Fest and it just didn't work out that way. So we ended up doing it at the food truck festival, and it was a great day, and you know, we had a lot of fun, and Eric signed a bunch of puzzles, and you know, he's a very charismatic guy, so we got a chance to sit and visit with a bunch of people. But he decided he wanted to come back and do it all over again, except this year he wants to do it at Strawberry Fest. So we're gonna have him on Saturday, the 21st of June at Strawberry Fest. So if you have a puzzle at home, you wanna come get it signed, great opportunity to do that. If you haven't yet purchased your puzzle, this is a phenomenal opportunity to come and purchase your puzzle, get it signed, maybe get a picture or two with Eric. You know, make a thing of it. I think it'll be really cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again, and looking forward to having him back in Cottage Grove. And with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Thede.
All right.
Strawberry Fest.
Here we go.
Yeah, I will mention something about the puzzle, though.
Please.
Is that it's you know, makes a fantastic wall hanging poster. After you, first of all, it's a great family activity to put the puzzle together, and you can do it over time or whatever, you know, and getting everybody together, putting the pieces together, learning more about your city or the city you used to live in, or you know, whatever, and so it's amazing. And then, you know, once you get it put together and you frame it, and it's actually quite a beautiful picture too, and it goes with a lot of decor, let me tell you. So that's it's amazing. And also, obviously, if you have Eric put his initials on it, also if he dates it, because I'd always tell the kids, you know, when you find something, you know, if it has a date on it, it could be valuable someday, because you know how old it is. So, at any rate, in terms of Strawberry Fest, I can hardly believe actually that it's only 2 weeks away. It's 15 days away. I mean, where's the time gone, right? And you know, just a couple of the different activities, the hours and things like that. You know, the carnival's coming back into town. On June 19th, that's Thursday. Everything will start at 4 p.m. and runs till 10. And then on Friday, it goes from 2 p.m. to 11. On Saturday, 11 a.m. That's right after the parade, by the way, that starts at 10 a.m. It'll go till 11 p.m. And then on Saturday, it goes, or oops, wait, I got those days wrong.
The 22nd.
Yeah, oh, on Sunday, the carnival, yes, thank you, is from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. So, and then also, again, I'm going to mention that Thursday, we've got an expanded kids program and family day on Thursday. So, and the fact is that for some people, it will be a holiday. Some of us have to still work on that day, it'd be a great day to get the family out, and I've been told it's going to be a fantastic weather and everything like that. So, get the family out, have a fantastic time. There's a tractor pull. There's just a variety of activities on Thursday. Friday, something new that we got is we're going to have a drone show. So it's these things are neat. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but fly around, things like that. It is fantastic. The technology, is extremely interesting with these, and they actually, kind of put together a storyboard, and they make like a 3D video of kind of what it's going to look like, and it's something that then the Strawberry Fest committee looks at, approves, and everything, and then it all comes to life and that's Friday night at 10:30. A little bit late, the kids might have to have a nap beforehand, but, huh?
Said I might need a nap.
Yeah, maybe, me too, yeah. But, and then Saturday, we do have the fireworks again at 10:30. We've got bands on Thursday night, we've got two bands on Friday, two bands on Saturday. I could talk for another hour or two, so maybe I better just let you go to the website that has all the information about it, and that's at Cottage Grove, strawberryfest.com. We need to shorten that someday, but Cottage Grove, strawberryfest.com, and all the activities are there, it's going to be a great show, great event, great time. So.
Fantastic, thank you. Awesome. Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, yes, I agree. The puzzle you should do with your family. We have been working on it since the Food Truck Fest. We're working hard, though, slowly but surely. So yes, it's definitely a fun
Shirley
family
was
thing.
involved.
No. And also, to piggyback off of Councilmember Olson's comment related to the meeting that they just had up at our senior living facilities, I just visited Washington, D.C. this past week, and I had the opportunity to sit in on some of the legislative sessions. And it was really, really promising related and surrounding to housing. So as much as we're hearing within our the news and social media and all the things that are happening right now, I felt good to hear that there is they are still moving right ahead to make sure that housing is affordable for people, and they're just working hard on that. So it just seems like that hasn't been forgotten, and I'm really happy to be able to share that with you all. So, and pretty much that's it. I've had a busy week, but that was a really great takeaway to know that we are still working hard on making sure housing is affordable.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Awesome. So last thing I'll just throw in there, obviously we've talked about Strawberry Fest. We do have Safety Camp that is coming up here on June 22nd, ages 6 to 9 at the old Cottage Grove Fire Station. It's from 8 a.m. to 3:30. If you're interested, you can register online. It's $35. Great event for kids. I get the opportunity to go out there and speak to them, while that event's going on, and great learning experience across the board for our public safety department, all across the whole thing there, and parks. So again, that's June 22nd from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and the ages again are 6 to 9. And then Movies with Mo is June 13th. It's the first movie of the year. 7 o'clock at Highlands Park, which is where the splash pad is. And it is called, the first movie that is going to be seen this year is called Wild Robot. I've seen it online. I haven't seen the actual movie yet, though, so that's going to be a great opportunity. Encourage everyone to come out. It's always kind of fun, especially when the weather's nice, right?
Yes, when it's nice.
Bring your blanket. There's like some free items out there for people to do, some food and...
Free popcorn, free lemonade, free glow sticks. I believe Egg Roll Queen will be there. there. Mike Mart will be there, and I think we have a couple other smaller vendors as far as food goes, so
Yes,
should be
yeah.
fun.
So, and again, it's, just so I can say it, it is if you want to buy stuff, you can, but it is a free event for anybody that wants to go there. That's the important thing to remember. So you talk about all the free stuff. But if you just want to go, put a blanket out there with the family and the kids and watch a great movie, this is your opportunity to do that. So again, that is June 13th at 7 PM at Highland Park. Okay? So with that, that was it for council comments request. We do not have any workshops open to the public or closed to the public this evening, so 13 and 14 is down. So I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn by Councilmember Thiede. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Garza. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, excuse me. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are adjourned.